Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? How's everybody this morning? What's up, Navy Plum? What's up, SJ, Strife, Adobe? I like Adobe. What's up, Drew? And Oolong Tea. Ja. Good morning, folks. How is everybody this morning? Let me get my screen sharing going for you guys. What's up, Strife? Good to see you guys here as always. I appreciate you always being in the mix, in the audience, in our on our team here with the morning live streams. Let's like I said, get my screen sharing started. Let's also take a look at. Well, I'm gonna take a look at. You guys won't see it because you see my charts. Just a quick look at the economic calendar. I know that. In fact, let me go ahead and snip this and share it. At least that'll make it easier for you guys to follow along. For those of you who don't know, well, God, how do I snip everything but the most important thing on this list? Hang on, sorry. I'm grabbing a snip of the economic calendar for today, and I grabbed everything except for the fact that Jerome Powell is speaking at 4 p.m. Probably want to let people know about that. Not going to move the market. Well, could move the market in that the market might not move in anticipation of Powell speaking at 4 p.m. today. Um, Good question, AV Plum. We'll take a look at it. I actually have Meta queued up. I'm sure you probably saw that in my tabs. Let me minimize my browser so I can see all that. But yeah, Meta we're definitely going to take a look at because, I mean, how good was that level? I mean, that trade plan dumped all the way down to PT3 and recovered almost perfectly off of that level, all the way back into our range there. Off of whatever event they had going on yesterday. But yeah, we'll circle back to that and talk about whether or not they might be good to recycle. Quick answer for me is yes. But let's take a look at it and just confirm things. Um, so yeah, economic calendar wise, we do have Jerome Powell speaking at 4 p.m. today. So right after market close, that's definitely something just to be aware of as we go into the trading day today because it could potentially keep things a bit flat. Good morning, Ace. Thanks for joining us again, buddy. Hopefully, well, Nvidia hasn't. I think was it Ace that asked for Nvidia? Yeah, because somebody else asked for the Lee Auto. Where did that go? I have that up here in my list of tickers at one point. Oh, there it is. So I know I have it. Um, yeah, we'll talk about Lee, but yeah, Nvidia could potentially give us an upside entry today. It looks like it's trying to break out of this downtrend. But yeah, we'll circle back to that, talk about it as well. So Nvidia, Tesla, Meta, Lee, got lots of reviews. Also, open to taking some ticker requests if you guys want to start pushing those into the chat, even though we won't be getting to those for probably another 10 minutes or so. So looking at the economic calendar again, just circling back to closing out that point on Jerome Powell speaking at 4 p.m. today. Could see a flat, choppy, weird market today in anticipation of him getting on a hot mic and saying some stuff after market close. Market might kind of wait in anticipation of that. However, he's on a script now, right? Like once they've kind of come out with their rate decisions and FOMC minutes, and he's said what he said at the press conferences, for the most part, right, you generally don't see any kind of major tectonic shifts in what's already been said. However, the market is always looking to find those little differences, as little sound bites to latch onto for better or for worse to try to justify moves to the upside or the downside. So I could certainly see, like I said, some choppy sideways type movement today. So just be careful today and where you're going to be looking for entries and all that, because you may just wind up in a choppy theta burn kind of day. So anyway, that's kind of the news catalyst economic calendar side of things. Looking at the ES chart here, we're actually finally, I was looking at it not too long ago, but we just continuously tapping this 16 WMA here on the 4-hour chart. We've only really had one candle close above it since last Wednesday, and that didn't last very long. It kind of moved up into some of the selling pressure here on one of my Neptune indicators and caught that level and rejected it. Also created a supply zone in the process up in this range. But yesterday, huge bounce. Myself and others got shaken out of probably like a sweetheart entry on calls. Just with that meta dump, I was like, oh, this is meta. Like, this was a really good entry on SPY, but meta's going to drag the market down. I think, and all of a sudden my indicator started putting sell pressure right on top of us. So definitely maybe a little bit of a stop hunt. Certainly, like I said, got some of us. And then the market just ripped after that. That's what these two candles are. But had a great trade on puts. I mean, wasn't the, pinnacle highest point to take puts. But I think we caught the smartest entry on that put alert going to the downside. Definitely could have held those a little bit longer, but made great profit on them nonetheless. And again, you can't expect those big swing days. They just kind of happen when they happen, and hopefully you've established a position that you can ride at where, normally, it makes sense to just scale out and be smart about taking profit. So, holding the trend line, weekly trend line, uptrend on ES, but really kind of fighting with this 16 WMA here on the 4-hour chart. Lots of, selling pressure on top of us. Jerome Powell speaking at 4 p.m. today. Going to be a very interesting day for sure. Right now, as long as we're holding this demand zone and this trend line, down here, I'd say start looking at calls. Also seasonality wise, with September wrapping up, which is, historically from a seasonality perspective, just an ugly damn month. What's up, Chris? Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Seasonality wise, September is just historically a shit month for the markets. So, looking forward to hopefully in October that is a little easier to trade and hopefully brings, some upside, because I think, personally I've done very well playing the downside over the last several weeks, but I'm kind of ready for some upside momentum and for some of my equity positions to get back to a point where I can sell some covered calls on them again. So I'm personally hoping that the market will bounce, but we don't trade on hope, right? We trade on plans and off charts. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the two trade plans we did on Tuesday. I just touched on NVIDIA briefly. This was Mr. Ace Rothstein's, let me get my words correct, request. Essentially, again, solid levels, but no trade plan set up, right? I mean, if you're kind of the type of person that likes to reverse engineer some of these plans that I put together, I mean, I could have certainly seen taking calls down there, especially with the 200 SMA giving us a nice confluence at 416.59. But I mean, literally our put entry down here, and our call entry. What's up, Shinobi? Good to see you here, bud. Our call entry level, or god dang, I keep flipping this. Our put entry and our call entry levels were essentially the high and low of the day yesterday. I mean, we just, that was the top and bottom of the range, both pre-market and throughout the trading day, and even here pre-market this morning, rejecting that call entry level again here. But yeah, again, going back to the, trying to reverse engineer these levels, or looking at ways that you could potentially, other uses for the levels, I guess is what I'm trying to say, besides just, sticking strictly to the plan as prescribed. I like that confluence. I'm personally just haven't been watching NVIDIA much. I want to see it kind of consolidate, although I am intrigued. I think it has done some consolidation and come down some to where it could be a value, or possible sweetheart entry, I should say, down here at these levels, especially with it breaking out over this downtrend that it's been under for quite some time. Let's see, where does this retrace back to? It goes all the way back to August. So breaking out of that, you could see some pent up buyers ready to jump in and try to ride the next wave on NVIDIA. So keep your eye on that call entry level. This one, we could see a plan finally go into effect on it. But again, top and bottom, call and put entry levels solid. And again, reverse engineering kind of approach. 200 SMA, put entry confluence, that's a solid support. not a worse idea to take some calls there and try to catch that bounce. If it doesn't hold, quick stop loss below that. And for me, with the Neptune indicators that I developed and have shared with everybody on XHub, that's also high selling or high buying pressure down here, and that would have been breaking below that would have been my personal stop loss had I been watching this and traded it. What are you guys talking about? Data dump at 8:30. Have we checked any? Yeah, no, nothing notable. I'd say, and hasn't. Last I looked, hasn't really made much of a difference. Still, yes, just doesn't like life above this 16 WMA here on the 4-hour chart. So continue to keep that on watch. I think as soon as we can get a convincing close above and continuation, we should see things start to recover and start to challenge some of these supply zones overhead. Going to Lee Auto, which was the other one we took a look at. This is another one that so far, let me hide these pivots real quick. It's a little bit noisy. Lee Auto, we, again, so far has been a no trade type scenario, but gapping down, back testing pre-market, and rejecting our put entry level. That to me tends to make me believe that we're going to start to see some of these downside price targets. However, timing your entry is going to be a little bit challenging, just due to the fact that, again, we've gapped down below our entry. We're already getting our back test. I would wait for another back test essentially. Or what might be even better, you do have, I love these long short tools, but sometimes those little statistics get in the way of what I'm trying to show on the screen. You would have up here at our stop loss average down for the put side of the trade plan, if it did bounce up that high, got selling pressure here on Neptune, 100 SMA right there. A key level as far as our plans are concerned, and would be a gap fill of this gap to the upside. So that could be a really solid rejection point, but also would give me a little bit more conviction to, if we did get another back test, if you are going to be a little bit more aggressive about an entry, another back test 34.37, I'd be interested in puts then at that point, and definitely willing to average down here at our stop loss level with that kind of confluence we have hanging out in that same spot. So that's how I'd play this one moving forward. What were the other ones that we were at? Let's see. Yeah, so Meta and Tesla trade plans. Great question from Navy Plum. So this one, I mentioned it kind of at the beginning of the podcast. I'm going to say it again, pat myself on the back. How good is that level? Literally played out our entire downside trade plan in the span of 45 minutes and recovered fully off PT3. So we essentially nailed max profit on that trade. If you were, it moved incredibly fast, and I personally didn't even try to play because it was moving so fast. So those aren't the kind of trades I like, because, I feel like, at least historically, and maybe, this was also when I was at a different point in my trading career, when I would try to catch these continuation moves to the downside, I'd be getting in down here, still holding here, and getting out somewhere up here after I get totally after the move gets pretty much totally eclipsed. But looking at Meta, yeah, absolutely, I think I would stick to recycling these trade plans. We do have this trend line coming down overhead. It's struggled with and rejected several times as recently as being the high of the day on Friday. So we could either see a breakout over this trend line, break over our call entry level would certainly give additional confirmation there, but you could see an aggressive entry over the stop loss average down for the call trade plan there at 299.78. So keep that on watch, kind of maybe an alternative, more aggressive way to play the trade plan. But yeah, I think it's in a good spot to recycle it, long story short. That's going to be hard to look at that Tesla chart. Let's go to our recap chart for that, just so we can take a look at that. Tesla trade plan was the gift that kept on giving. Oh, wow. Yeah. Gosh, I've lost track of Tesla. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this one we could have recycled. Is this the one that we just did? Did we do a different This was Monday. That was over. Is that what you're asking for? We didn't look at Tesla again on Tuesday. This was from the member selected tickers. That's what's going on. Okay, sorry. Just trying to get my bearings there. Yeah, so this one dropped down, PT2 hit. Now we're back testing and rejecting the put entry level. So I would say if we get another back test of that put entry level, you got a really nice confluence there this time. You got 100 SMA, 241.52. Everything's pretty bearish here on Neptune. Long signal, but I'd probably ignore that in favor and defer to the flag here on Neptune. But yeah, I mean, I like the possibility of recycling this if we get another back test of the put entry there at 241.52. Stop loss. I like it where we've got it set, or if you wanted to have a more aggressive, tighter stop on it, you could use the 200 SMA here on the 15-minute chart. Excuse me. Break over that would be potentially problematic for puts. All right, I think we've got some new ticker requests, so let's get to some new trade plans here. Netflix. Writer strike just ended. This is probably a good one to keep an eye on. Navy Plum always very intelligent, thoughtful with his ticker requests. There's always something in the mix whenever he asks for something. All right, let's see. Looks like we're playing out some trade plan levels from, gosh, I guess the trade plan we did back in August. Got our, tried to hold this put entry level from, again, forever ago, if anybody was still watching this, but generally speaking, if it's a ticker that you like to trade and I've done a trade plan for it, mark these levels down on your chart, set alerts, and set them to, for the longest expiration you possibly can, unless you have a trading view plan that allows alerts that do not expire. But yeah, this one's been playing out to the downside, tapping price targets, back testing price targets, continuing down to more price targets. So let's see, is there still, because I do not track this normally, if I've got a red level there, that means that I'm trying to follow or track where there's a gap. But if there was one, it's definitely been filled, so don't need that level to be that color anymore. All right, let me just check. So Netflix isn't one that I look at a ton, to be perfectly honest. Let's just check some things out here. Make sure we've got good levels. We're not missing anything, especially up here in this price range. It looks like I've done some pretty heavy, well, overall I've done some pretty heavy charting on it, but let's just check things out, make sure I don't see anything different that changes my mind about anything. Do I want to add a level anywhere? So far the answer is no. Really struggling with this area up here. In fact, we could have, yeah, I'd say there's definitely a I want to probably hone that in a little bit, so hang tight. We definitely have a supply zone overhead that it's hitting up against. And let's look at this on a 4-hour. I want to see where this thing's sitting. Could have a couple, actually. Yeah, I think we've got one right here that we're going to want to pay attention to. Let's get this guy on. There's another one. It was there. That invalidated, but we set up a new one, which is, yeah, this might be one that we want to look at the daily chart for. Yeah, it's right here. So I want to pay attention to those. Let's also see if we have any demand zones coming up. We definitely do. Down here. This is the next one for sure. Also, interesting confluence, bottom of that demand zone. We have a level sit right there, so that's probably going to be our PT3 for puts, I'd be willing to bet. But let's take a look at this. All right, so am I missing any levels? I'm sure I am, especially in this range. There's got to be some support or resistance that's been established in here. Let's go look at some of these older candles and price movement. Got something sitting right there. Let's check this kind of more recent. Yeah, nice bounce off that, broke below, continued down. Yeah, that's a level we want to keep on watch. Anything else that kind of sticks out to me here? 4 hour. Not that I think is going to be in our range of our trade plans, so. Well, no, I take that back. This could. Nah, it's probably not going to be in the range of our trade plan anyway. Well, I'm going to add it anyway, though, since I see it. It's right about there. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so take a look at this hourly chart. Let's flip our indicators on. What is that going to show us? Okay, so Netflix. I could also have. Sorry, just want to check one more thing here, real quick. I do have a couple of 4-hour supply levels in here. It's kind of a weird small one, but there is a small one like right here. Oops. For these. Very small one right there. Oops. I think we have another one. This would be considered a hidden supply zone. And this, let's see. I think we're looking at something that is really kind of off this guy right here. Just to, I might be overestimating how close this demand zone is. Whoops, gosh, supply zone. We've definitely set a few in now as we've made this move to the downside. I think we're testing another one. Yeah, right here. Gotcha. Dang it. Clicking the wrong thing there. All right. So, what does that make me think? Let's see here. All right. So, yeah, I think I want to see. It's gonna be risky, although we have put some work in on this supply zone already. So, you know, the more these things get tested, they get weaker and weaker and eventually give way. We do have a weekly level here, kind of recent high or above the recent highs, would put us back over the 100 SMA and would put us pretty close to clearing out the hourly flag here on Neptune. Let's just take a look at the, try to double check this on a couple of time frames. Yeah, we'll really start to break through a few things there on the 30 minutes. So I like that 386.19 entry. Maybe I'm being a little too aggressive, but I like it. Over that, it's an interesting question. I could conceivably really see us going up to 396.10. The question is that being insanely greedy? Did have a decent bounce off this 390.87 level leading to this shortly before this leg down, and even though we did wick all the way up to there, bodies of those candles, the price action seems to be flipping or closer to that 390.87 level. So I'd use that as our first price target, second price target, 396.10 at that point. And then over that, smart money or conservative players will be out here. I could realistically see it going for this 405.12 and 405.12. Yeah, I think this level might have been nudged down a little bit. Could be closer to that, especially coincides with the top of that supply zone, which I like. So maybe more like 404.68 really is where that level should be sitting. I think that would be a good ultimate third price target. I'm going to leave this level in here if anybody wants to keep it on watch for a potential more conservative exit. Then the other question becomes, what's our stop loss average down level look like? Oh boy, I don't think we can use this 380.86 level. And honestly, that bounce didn't really recover all that much off of it. I think we're probably looking at something here in this 383.07 area, but let me just check this real quick. An interesting little gap there. Those candles, 383.71. Let's go back a little further. Let's see if there's a level that really sticks out to me in this little range that we could use as a smarter stop loss for a better risk reward on this trade. Goodness gracious, how far back do I have to go? Where's the price out? Here we go. Here we go. That's what I was looking for. All right. Probably a little too conservative. Kind of looking at right around here, this 382.86, I'd call it. I probably dropped a level somewhere weird on my chart, didn't it? Off. Gosh dang it. Right there. Yeah. I don't think I'd want to be back below that level. If we get back over 386.19, I wouldn't want to be back below that and holding calls after a break above 386.19. So yeah, that looks pretty close to where I was looking, or one of the spots I was looking at here more recently. So I like it. That'll be our stop loss average down. So then the downside, like continuation, what's our put entry going to be? Let's see. Well, we're testing this level that rejected right before this big run to the upside here pre-market. And it feels a little bit aggressive. In fact, I think as far as like could put us in a try to enter right at the open scenario, which I do not like. What I do like is potentially using that, though, as a nice backstop for a stop loss average down. Then we use this level. It's our call entry, or put entry. Golly, I had bass backwards this morning. Calls and puts and supply and demand. I just can't seem to keep those straight. I don't know why. First price target, there's a level in here I don't have. But I really think that that's where first PT needs to sit. Second price target. You know what? I was running a little bit behind this morning, so I haven't made my coffee yet. That's probably what it is. I guarantee you that's what it is. Oh, God, it sounds so good right now, too. Oh, trust me, as soon as we wrap this up and as soon as I get the spy plan posted, that's the first thing I'm doing is I'm making myself a cup of coffee. I do need it. I do not like using that meme for it, though. That's a good one. Well played, sir. Well played. We do have a level here, I think so. Ultimately, I think our PT, and I'd be out heavy at PT2, bottom of this demand zone that we have down here at 354.40, and then 347.11. So let's just kind of clean this up. Or do you guys prefer me to publish this whole chart like this? I just feel like I can read these charts because I look at them all the time like this, but I feel like when I'm sharing trade plans, it makes things a little too noisy. So I can copy all this stuff over to a clean chart where we're just looking at sort of the levels from the plan, or I can post this with all the bells and whistles. It's up to you guys. But the plan's going to look like this. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Chris is typing. Get the bells and whistles chart. I just have to figure out how to read it. All right, so what are we looking for here? Well, for this Netflix trade plan, we're looking for a break over 386.19 to try to play this to the upside. That gives us targets at 390.87, 396.10, and my ultimate target to the upside would be 404.68. However, I could definitely see there being a smart, more conservative third price target at 399.98. Also, psychological level, we're sitting right at 400 there, essentially. So, yeah. More disciplined traders, I won't say smarter, more disciplined traders will take their profits there. And honestly, thinking about that being a psychological level, I kind of would lean toward that a little bit myself on second thought. But it is what it is. You got four options there to the upside to take your profits, but make sure you're taking profits on the way up at each of those levels and make sure you're moving your stops up. 382.86 stop loss average down starting that trade out though, but again, make sure that that moves up with the plan. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 371.56. That should give us targets at 364.79, 354.40, and 347.11 with the stop loss average down at 375.77. Jesus Christ. Just booted my mouse across the room. All right. So that's your Netflix trade plan. What were the other ones? Netflix. SOXL if time. Oh, and XLU. Okay. Take a look at both of these. Let's start with SOXL. That's an interesting one, and I might already have levels on it because I was doing some wheel trades on it a while ago. But I have since, moved on from those. Gosh, that's an old trend line. And it broke down and back tested and is rejecting now. That's interesting. Wonder what that's from. Oh man, that's like a long-standing trend line. October of last year, and we are losing it and back testing and rejecting. That is a horrible look for SOXL, to be perfectly honest. I don't know what this is or when it's from, but this one down here looks like it's. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't based on the hourly chart. It's probably, I'm guessing, based on the 4-hour maybe, or maybe the daily chart. Holds up on the 4-hour. Yeah, both sides. That's not a great look. Okay, well, I don't know why I don't have more levels on it, so that's weird. But I'm going to keep that trend line in the mix here. I don't know what these levels are that are drawn on here. I know I have a chart on one of my layouts that has a bunch of levels on it. I'm not going to dig through the weeds to find it, though. All right. Yeah, yeah, was 8, was also, I think, 80 at one point. So the crit, well, and here's the challenge, right, with these tickers and for holding them for too long, right, is this is a leveraged ETF. So essentially it uses options to gain that leverage, and options are a decaying asset, and therefore these leveraged ETF tickers are also decaying assets. Like, they will eventually erode over time, and they'll have to do a reverse split and all that sort of stuff. So but it tracks the semiconductor sector. So I think SMH is one of its bigger holdings. But Nvidia, AMD, all those heavy tech names, will really move SOXL, essentially, whether it be because it's a part of the fund, or it's those tickers are moving the semi sector overall, and so the sympathy play is also moving assets that this fund holds. So anyway, for those who want to know about SOXL, interesting one to wheel trade, and would probably be better to wheel trade as some sort of like a synthetic covered call type setup, like where you would essentially like buy a $17 call, sell a $17 put, and then sell for 6 months out, let's say, and then sell $18 calls, or $19 calls. I don't know exactly what's on the options chain, but maybe there's an 18.5 calls for like a month out, and just collect premium but still have technically long exposure to the ticker. And also you'd have to be willing to buy shares at $17 a share. So interesting. Because I know that did they recover pretty well overnight? It's interesting. They're getting all these upgrades after they dumped overnight. Let's go to playbook. Just take a look at this MU chart real quick, and then we'll jump back over and get our SOXL trade plan knocked out, which I'm going to have to do in hyper speed looking at the time. Yeah, you could also do that, but that was kind of part of that was a part of one of the components of what I was just talking about as far as that synthetic covered call strategy there. Cup of magic is you would sell a $17 put for, like I said, let's say 6 months out, buy a $16 or $17 call for 6 months out, and then you could sell calls against your long call option out of the money. So you're kind of collecting premium on both sides in that particular approach. But yeah, cash secure puts totally viable option on that as well. But yeah, MU's recovered decently. Interesting that it's getting all these price upgrades after what was, God, why did they sell off? I mean, it weren't huge beats top or bottom, but they beat. This could be an interesting, like, try to catch a quick recovery. I think Costco kind of did the same thing, although Costco is notorious for that. But I think Costco kind of did the same thing, dumped on the earnings report and then ripped, yesterday into the trading day, right back up into a trend line of some sort that I was tracking at one time. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to our SOXL trade plan, get this figured out real fast if we can. And well, I don't know, man. You're asking me to participate in what I would say is a bad practice, which is jumping into trades right after an earnings report, but this is the kind of trade that I would be a little bit interested in that type scenario because, again, ultimately their earnings were good. They're getting all kinds of price target upgrades, but they sold off on their earnings report, so the sell-off doesn't compute. And this is one of those rare scenarios where I probably would be a little bit interested actually in trying to counter this earnings report dump that they had and try to play MU to the upside. So I like it. Let's take a stab at it. Ooh, look at what we're catching there too. Bouncing right off that trend line. Yeah, this is intriguing. And I think a pretty clear, maybe semi-aggressive call entry opportunity here. 67.14. Definitely need to work on my MU levels a little bit. I don't know what these blue levels are. Typically, I just use this as kind of like, this is potentially a level, but I want to put a placeholder here because I'm not sure. I think the real level that I was probably trying to find when I, excuse me, is right there. What that level is. I'm going to delete it. I think that that's going to make for a pretty good stop loss level. Then the question becomes, first price target. For me, it's not this, first of all. That's distracting me. I think it's probably sitting right around here. 68. Gosh, I hate to call that level because I feel like it's going to go to this six. It's going to probably test this weekly level, I think, ultimately. There's some toppy action here. You can also see where it acted as support recently within the past few trading days. I think I'd be remiss. I don't want to get like too greedy, and we're not lowering our target that much. As much as I still would want to keep this on watch, it's a little too close for us to use the second price target. Pretty clean rejection right there off 70.02. Also probably a good psychological level, recent support, but earnings report ran it right up to that level and dumped it off that level. So that would certainly be a smart second price target to keep on watch. Third price target. Yeah, I say go for the gusto on PT3. The 7161 level is kind of calling my name a little bit. I think that's really what we're looking at. So then to the downside, question, and probably have some levels I need to fill in here quickly. So let's take a look. Yeah. Level here. So it's right there. Same thing with this guy. And I've got something that looks like it was flagged as a gap at one point, but that gap clearly does not exist anymore. Sorry, fix up these lines a little bit. Okay, here's an interesting level right here too. This is a 4-hour level. So, all right, let's see if we can't nail down this trade plan from here. Whoops, psych, I got into all those levels down there and did not miss this big range right in here where I know we've got some support resistance levels that we're going to need to look for and use in our trade plan. There's definitely something sitting right here. Good 4-hour level. And yeah, more so right here. All right, so and something. Sorry, I'm trying to convince myself about this level. I think it's really more right there. All right, let's go. So, downside trade plan. I mean, we lose this trend line, things look bleak, I would say. Want a little bit of extra confirmation. It looks like downside opens up a little bit more below this 63.98 level. I don't think these are kind of riding this trend line up. So I'm looking more at like how things move back here. Yeah, I think you got to use that as a first price target there. I'm seeing enough activity and reaction, especially that bounce right there. It gives me a little bit of pause to not shoot down here to the 62 weekly / psychological level. But then below that, I think things open up down to 60.30. Stop loss average down on that trade or downside plan. Keep it fairly tight. Yeah, I'd keep it here around the 64, 62 level. If you really wanted to give it some room, you could conceivably use 65.30, which might constitute or fall in line with, depending on the timing of how this all plays out, could fall in line with a back test of this trend line breakdown. But I think that's, sorry, jump to the hourly chart. Gosh, like in a rush to get this done. Let me not be too much of a rush. Not at least take a look at our indicators, make sure there's not anything obvious we're missing there. Definitely looks overall bearish, but all those upgrades, the good beat, bouncing off this trend line, I don't know. I feel like MU could see a big recovery day today. It's an interesting setup for sure. So, well spotted. Crease. Then to the downside. That. Yeah, I think that it just skews our risk reward a little too much to the negative to put that stop loss any higher. But again, if you're willing to kind of give it some room, buy some extra time on your trade, you could potentially see a breakdown, some kind of a fake out below, back test this trend line, and then a rejection to the downside. So just throwing a scenario out there for you guys to think about. All right. And with this, we're going to wrap up our MU trade plan. We're going to wrap up our live stream session for today and the last one for the week. But what we're looking at here for MU is a break over 67.14 with targets at 68.69, 70.02, and 71.61 with a stop loss average down at 66.14. And then to the downside, we're looking for a break below 63.98 with targets at 62.94, 62 flat, and 60.30 with a stop loss average down at 64.62. All right, folks, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. As always, we will be back next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Yeah, what's up, Ace? You're very welcome, my friend. You have a great end of your week and an excellent weekend as well. And same thing to everybody listening in. Thank you guys for joining us. It really does. I enjoy getting to work with a larger group, in this little team we have is growing day by day every live stream we do. So I love it. I dig it. Make sure to tell your friends, even if they're not Xtrades members, they can check it out on YouTube, and maybe that encourages them to become Xtrades members, because we are by far the best Discord trading community, in my personal opinion. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So, with that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you all in the chats. Go out there and get some green, secure the bag. And like we always say, in the absence of my good friend 007, who will hopefully be able to start joining us again soon. That's right. Plan your trades and trade your plans, folks. Go out there. Have a fantastic day. I will see you guys in the chat and back here next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Take care.